All right, so we solved this question before. Why do people not like being wrong? Well, we came to what did we come? What the conclusion we came to was it was identity, right? Like it's
Yeah,
basically two
so
people. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, so the conclusion we came to was that it's two people not arguing just who's right or wrong, but their identity is tied up with their beliefs. So it's not just right or wrong, it's arguing. I can't, that's the deepest I can get it, bro.
So you were explaining it right. It's basically it's two people arguing, but they're not like they don't really care too much about the argument. We essentially came down to it is two people's identity arguing with each other. So if me and you were arguing about ice cream, right? Let's say you argue you don't like ice cream and I argue I do like ice cream. We unintentionally wrap our identity into those things. Like that becomes part of your identity. Like I'm a person that likes ice cream. This is me. This is who I am. You're a person that doesn't like me. That's you. That's who you are. This is your character. This is your identity. This is how you identify. Like it's part of what makes you you, right? And
And what
people aren't necessarily arguing that. They basically take it in reflection as you're telling me my identity is wrong.
and
So
for example,
yeah, go
like you
ahead.
said, ice cream. There's stigmas behind everything. So dairy, you're this person if you like dairy. Vanilla, strawberry. So everything that you consider inside of your opinion comes from the stigmas also that's surrounding it and your belief of those
Yeah.
stigmas. So we are arguing the full scope of everything that's going on behind the scenes and not just what's being presented in a conversation.
Right. And it's not like we're just internalizing it at face value. Like are you telling me my character and my identity is wrong? Like it's almost unconscious, but no one realizes that they're arguing with their identities. But that's eventually what it comes down to. That's why when you see people arguing bigger things like politics and stuff like that, that's why nobody wants to be wrong because nobody wants to be told that their identity is wrong.
More you can battle your own identity, the greater of a conversationalist, listener, and everything else you can be because it's all rooted in identity.
Yeah, exactly. The more you can remove your identity from the topic that you're talking about, the easier it is to get to the truth of the topic. You kind of remove yourself from it and speak on it objectively, and that's how like constructive conversations come about. But the reason I bring this up, I came across I can't remember how I stumbled upon it. I think I was watching a TikTok or something like that. It happened when I was watching that guy named Cliff that be doing the TikTok videos and stuff, like, or not the TikTok videos. He does shit on YouTube too. Yeah, that guy that debates people on like his faith and like Christianity and stuff like that. I was seeing him debate this atheist, right? What I got from it, there's always a way to live inside of religions, right? So live this way, live that way. This is wrong, that's wrong. There are people who reject God because in these religions like Christianity, being a Muslim, a Jew, regardless, these all have like set ways of living, and people don't like or they don't subscribe to a higher faith simply because these religions end up telling them their way of living is wrong, their identity is wrong. And like we just established, people do not like being wrong, being jealous, being envious, wrathful, this, that, and the other, loving your enemy. Things like this are things that people don't usually tend to accept. Like, who wants to love their enemy? Who just wants to naturally be good all the time? But people end up like misinterpreting this.
Don't
They already have their way of living. So when a religion comes into their life and tells them, hey, what you're doing is sinful, and they've already tied their identity to the things that they like, and this religion is telling them their ways are sinful, it goes back to how what we were saying, nobody wants to be wrong. So this is why I feel like atheists end up rejecting religion. It's not because they feel he's as real as Santa Claus or this, that, and the other. Someone might go ahead and say that. That's not what it boils down to. Nobody in the world likes to be wrong. But you could tell me what you think on that, if you think that's a good assessment or not.
that's really interesting because I believe that wholeheartedly. I do believe there's a layer deeper, but that truth right there, I believe the very intention of this world in the systems that are being built in the strong beliefs are very intentional to steer us away from what's right.
Right.
And all all because of belief. And that's the layer I believe is one layer deep is belief, right? I do believe that it's an argument according to of identity, but because we believe something, if we go down that lane now, we'll see it's almost like it almost fold in on itself. So we battle with certain ideas. For one reason I see is because of comfort, and then another reason I see is because of fear of breaking that comfort. Get what I'm saying? Or not enough experience outside of that comfort.
Yeah.
Beneath the identity, of course, battles they believe. And I think that's the hard part to struggle with. Like, I believe the identity part is tough because that's just what you can and can't see. But the belief part is a bit deeper than perspective. But experiencing it before, I can't explain belief. But it's
Let me ask you this. How do you think to any atheists that are watching this isn't meant to like get you to force you to believe something. This is more so just having a dialogue for it. But what would you say to an atheist to help them experience religion? I want to say because like we said, nobody wants to be wrong. If a person is coming into this religion like there's no way around it, they're going to be told they're wrong, all because of sin. Like there's sin in pretty much every religion. So how do you get around sin while also trying to get someone to believe in a higher power at the very least?
I think
Or
the
does it come down
problem
to the
is
person instead of the religion?
no, I believe it's the religion. I believe religion is the big problem, honestly, because the belief is one thing, but the religion often says it's like a belief based thing. You get what I'm saying? You believe this, and this is what you get. But for oftentimes, in order to believe something, first you need it's almost like programming. Believe like for lack of better terms, you need a programming in your mind to or some sort of experience in the understanding of what there is to believe. Like we don't believe in gravity because it's a myth. We believe in gravity because we can go outside and watch leaves fall every day. But if somebody was to say gravity is a thing, but yet we see the leaves fall to the sky or a lot of unexplainable things, it that belief would be harder to form. Or for example, I can't tell you to believe there's an elephant in my hand, even if I offered you $1 million, because belief goes according to what you can perceive, not what you want. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like even if you wanted to with all your heart, you can't just make yourself believe an elephant is in my hand. And it's the same thing with I believe atheists and other things. And sometimes there is a battle there, but I believe the biggest problem is religion itself because of the pedestal of quote unquote Christians or Muslims or whoever subscribe to that belief. They put themselves above those who don't. And then those who don't are judged according to what they haven't the standards that it's a whole loop. We have to really go into it, but I can't just ramble about it. I need to find the right headspace to get the words out.
So like the guy that you were debating with on what, it was a TikTok live.
Yeah, it
He
was.
so for instance, right, that person is already set in their ways, and it would probably take an extreme amount of tragedy to probably get this person to set aside their identity or to recognize anything from any religion. So for like we'll use him as an example. Like that person obviously doesn't want to be wrong. If he's going and cussing you out and not trying to be civil about it any way possible, like he's not trying to hear nothing you're talking about. I mean, what can a religion do for a person at that point? I think in that instance, it was like we were establishing earlier. Like you kind of have to remove your identity away from these beliefs and try it in like in order to try and get to the truth of the matter. But I don't think a lot of atheists. I'm not saying like all atheists are just wrong for no reason. Like you're entitled to what you think, but it kind of involves you to suspend who you are as a person in order to even see it, like to remotely see it. Because I remember before I was an atheist. Like I don't know if you remember. Like I used to be blasphemous to God. I used to be all crazy type of things. I used to curse God's name. I used to just say the most ridiculous stuff possible about God. Like I didn't respect God in no way, shape, or form. And it wasn't until uh like I was saying, tragedy, like when it coming down to just, general pain, emotional, physical, like whatever it could be, that it wasn't
Yeah,
until I put my identity aside to where I was finally able to come back into God and to realize my way of thinking was harmful to myself. And not just that, it's also lonely not believing in a higher power. When you don't have anyone else, when you don't have anything like that, that makes the world a million times more difficult. I can't remember what I think it was a scientist and it wasn't a philosopher. I think I saw it on the episode of Young Sheldon, but it was the I'm gonna paraphrase. The guy was like, and it made so much sense to me. It was like, a rational person can understand the benefit of God. Like, regardless if you
ain't
believe
that
in God,
that's interesting.
regardless if you believe in him or not, a rational person, if you're a rational person believing in God and there not being a God, you don't lose out on anything. If anything, you gain beneficial ways of living, like for instance from the Bible. Like, regardless of how you feel about God, there are extremely good things in there to help you live your life by. You don't lose out on anything if he's not real. However, if he is real and you choose to reject him, you lose out on paradise. So you don't really have nothing to lose in this instance, but you have everything to gain. So
But I will say though, one thing that while all of this is very true, right? In order to break the perspective before coming to this understanding is like from my perspective now, seeing the reality of the world that we are in, you are extreme. I wouldn't even call it lucky. You are blessed to be broken from the illusion because although me and you can see it, and we have walked alone enough in order to not miss it once it's gone too much or not crave the people who like it takes a certain journey to see the world clear. If you head your way, like it takes for you to lose your way to find your way. And that's funny. That's literally the one of the first things dreams that I had to this day. It's like I'm not sure if it was a vision or dream, some weird stuff, but there was a tap on my forehead from a man stand. I ain't gonna go down it, but the person told me in order to find the answers, you have to first lose your vision.
right.
And in my dream, I was tapped on the forehead, my eyes went limp. Woke up not knowing what it meant in years. But I say all that to say, when you think you got it figured out, even whether what you doing is working for you or not, when you believe that there is progress in a route that you are taking, whether you recognize what progress look like or not, our mind is so tricky because you only can know what you know. You can never be aware of what you don't know. And so only until that life-changing event word come out of somebody's mouth or you see something at the right time can you break the illusion. Or but like you said, it's usually happened through trauma. But those
Yeah.
of us who spent time alone and away from people and had to deal with our own minds, we found reason within ourselves to say no. But those who haven't done those things get their answer from everybody else. They go where the crowd is. They go where acceptance is. You get what I'm saying? But those who sat and felt their own emotions is the ones who will be broken free.
Yeah.
And so to sum all that up, I say that to say, while it is like we were saying before, it's this whole battle going on. It also takes something out. I think that's outside of our capability to control for that change.
Yeah.
To see the direction of change, because
Yeah.
some people stop robbing and go to stealing. I mean, and go to scamming. Some people go from bad to worse, but in order to change and see something better is a tough one.
So right there, I wanna lead us into the next thing that we were gonna talk about because I think that's a really good transition. So I wanted to talk about stoicism. So like you were talking about something outside of your control, right? That's the whole that's one of the core things about stoicism is you can't control what you can't control external factors. You can only control how you respond to them. And I think like as far as a man, right? Like women can be stoic too. Don't get me wrong. That's not just a male thing. But like specifically for men, I think stoicism is a very important thing to incorporate, especially if you want to understand God, I feel like. And not even just God, but just to understand the things that go around in your life cuz
Your
that it,
place in the world.
yeah, it's such a simple idea, but it's such an extremely effective, like it's so basic, it's so simple, but it's a very effective way of looking at things. Like for instance, there's this guy that works at Gyro Express by down the street from me, right? Every time I go there, bro, every time this guy always has a smile on his face, and he's working with rude ass people. 1 o'clock in the morning, these people talking about people all disorganized, ordering all different types of food. Person coming like, yeah, this guy lettuce on it, and I ain't asked for like all kind of crazy stuff. Every time I look at him, man, every time he's talking to these people, just how he responds, right? The way he responds, he can't control any of this, but the way he responds, he always does this with a smile on his face, bro. He always does it with the best attitude. Like I've never seen him break character. I've never seen him get outside his body. I've never seen any of that. And I think that's like a very I think that's a real beautiful characteristic to have as a man, like to not let outside forces dictate how you respond to things. Cause I've been trying to take that to heart and use that in like my everyday life. It gets hard, don't get me wrong, but I think that helps men control their emotions, because I think controlling your emotions is a very, very big factor as a man that can either make a great man or destroy a man entirely if they can't control their emotions. That's why I feel like there's like that's what I think gangsters are, right? These are just, I think gangsters are very like a feminine way of men. And what I mean by that is, I think I look at some people in my own family, like for instance, like my uncle and stuff like that, and these were like they're a result of not being in control of your emotions. Not their character isn't rooted in stoicism at all. And the reason I tie it to femininity is because women are more emotional creatures. They respond. Can this guy get the fuck out of the camera? I literally cannot see any of us. Hold on, I have to kill him real quick. Damn. Like, what the fuck is his problem? I don't even remember what I was saying.
You're saying about people, the gangsters are just
Oh yeah.
low emotional
So these
intelligence.
guys are like the women. So like women are more emotional creatures, and I don't. I think that's I think that's important to realize, because a lot of these gangsters and stuff like these people that turn and stuff like this, they don't have male role models in their life. They're in majority they're raised by like single mothers, right? And these hot-headed, quick to uphold on you for any reason kind of guys, these are people who are not in control of their emotions whatsoever. They immediately jump to wrath. They immediately get angry. They immediately aren't trying to hear shit you're talking about. Like the YNs of the world, like these guys are they're nowhere near in control of their emotions. And I feel like stoicism really helps with that, because like I was saying, the guy at the gas station, or not the gas station, at Gyro Express, it's all up to how you respond to your environment, man. Like you can let everything around you destroy you, but be stoic is like, it's a very poetic way of living, because you can only accept how you live. You can only accept reality, right? It's not like I can just snap my fingers and things will just change. It's just, this is how things are. This is how I'm gonna respond to it. And I think being able to respond to things positively is a lot stronger than just reacting with emotion. But I mean, it could also be detrimental too. I don't know if you want to go on to talk about that. I want to hear what you got to say.
All right. As far as that last piece, I don't know how to backtrack through the whole conversation, so I will comment on the last piece. I will say I agree with you 100% that that's exactly what's going on. But I believe, like you say, this is reality. Like we back to my favorite thing on earth, to me that's very important, is perception.
Yeah,
Like our reality, it makes sense. And like I forget the guy you said, I think you said
at
Baby
Gyro
Sheldon.
Express.
No, as far as
The guy from Young Sheldon.
Yeah, I forgot what the quote what it was you
It
had
was
said exactly.
he was like a rational man can understand the benefit of God.
Okay, there we go. The rational man. But like we said, reality is according to your rationale. Like your reality is literally projected from the inside of you. So we can't say that they wrong, even though because we have a higher perception and we are more logical, but their reality is that this makes sense to them. This is how you solve problems. This is how this, and so it's like once again, it takes that person who sit with their emotions, but you will notice that's exactly what they don't do. Get out your feelings. You only live once. Live, but everything, the whole culture of these people who live in this way and have this mindset is completely opposite of what we're saying because their reality tells them that's what it is to grow. This is what it is to be successful. This is what it is to be something in life. Everybody mind is telling them a different story. So when they doing that stuff, they doing that in sense of progression and they own capabilities. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So if I don't respond, I'm gonna be looked at this way, and that's not growing in their own eyes.
yeah. No, I
That's
definitely, I
it's too tricky. It's a tricky game.
I definitely I get what definitely get what you're saying. And that's why it's so hard to overcome those things because those people have made that their identity. They've made that their identity. So it's and to go back to it again, nobody wants to be wrong, right?
But
So
But do you I'm sorry, but do you notice something?
yeah.
One key thing that happens. Over the years, you will notice a lot of things change. 20 for some reason, and I'm the same way, around 2016, 15 was this time that felt like cannot be replicated. It was we was all in a just living life. Everybody doing these certain dances, not these weak TikTok dances, but these dances that I don't know. It felt more lively, and it was like something was going on in connectiveness in the world, right? People began to get more introspective. People began to question the reality that we living in a little more. But
Yeah.
this is all promoted by social media. So my belief is that belief comes by hearing. They say in the Bible say faith comes by hearing, but I believe that's what belief and faith is like tied in with each other because you have faith in the things you believe in. You would never go against gravity trying to jump to the moon if you believed gravity exists, unless you're trying to create a device to defy gravity. But you wouldn't think it's just logical until they tell us what substance is creating gravity. Then we learn how to work with that piece of the world to defy. I'm going off, but I say all of this to say, I don't remember.
Well,
I need a sound board.
let me carry on with some of the topic. So to stoicism, right? One of the things that I was saying was it can be detrimental, and the way I say it's detrimental is like it's detrimental in the way where people so the thing about stoicism is like you get so into it where you feel like it's all about how you respond, right? And in these instances the response would be to respond calmly, to respond rationally, right? But that ultimately, like a human isn't like that all the time, right? And I feel like stoicism is pushed on men a lot more than it is women, simply because like what do you think the what do you think the culture around men in stoicism is like? Oh, you're a
Oh, I
man, you're
love that
supposed to deal
question.
with it. You're a man, be a man. Like you're crying, don't cry, be a man, and stuff like that. So I say that as in it gets pushed to its extreme where you can't feel like you can't react to anything. You feel like you have to just brood in silence, and I think it's detrimental because not the idea in itself. I think stoicism is a very great thing, but when pushed to the extreme, people tend to feel like you're not supposed to have emotions, you're not supposed to feel, you're not supposed to hurt, and
That's and again, that's like a trauma thing. That's not the teaching of stoicism. That is the force of through like there's a difference from building somebody up to something than breaking somebody down to something.
Yeah.
Like we oftentimes, especially in like the lower class, we have to beat our children, or not completely actually beat them, but because of our own worth and what we thought we could amount to, in order to get a different response or teach from what we are able to teach from, we often feel a need to beat out of our own problems out of our kids. So
Yeah.
if we had this certain issue, we don't want our kids to go through that certain issue. So you hyper focused on them building that trait, and we tend to beat it out of them to build up stoicism or things of that sort. But really, we just putting trauma that grows those certain traits bad. Like they grow with extra fingers and toes.
Yeah. I wanted to show exactly like this more so relates to the emotional part that I was talking about. So this isn't nowhere that I would need to, so like this is nowhere that I need to put a link to or anything. It's more so just if you Google what is Stoicism, this will pop up for you. Or I might just end up putting it on the screen or something like that. But regardless, it goes to, if you scroll down to emotional resilience, it'll say, rather than suppressing emotions, Stoicism advocates for transforming, understanding, and limiting unhealthy emotions. And it has in parentheses passions to maintain a calm and rational state of mind. And just from reading that, I'm more than sure you can see where that would get pushed to its extreme. On
In the key phrase, healthy. Have to
yeah,
be able to perceive what healthy is.
yeah, and depending on where that person, I'm gonna tie it back to what you said. Depending on where that person's rationale is, it could get pushed to its extreme, or it can be beneficial to the person, and that's where I think stoicism ends up working to a person's detriment, because there's a lot. I want to say mental health is like more poor in men than it is women. Am I wrong to say that?
Nowadays, you probably wrong to say that.
Well,
Not not
I
not as
don't
a shot
necessarily
to the
mean
women,
so.
but
I don't necessarily mean so from a political standpoint. I mean from where we are in society right now.
oh yeah, I'm saying it from that same. But then again, thinking more so in black culture. So I can't speak for every.
You think black men suffer less than black women? Not to
I
say that it's a
I
competition or anything, but
Yeah, I was finna say I can't answer that one, but I will say the woman's psyche is slipping more than ever. But it's off of, like, I've done a backtracking in my own mental of why I believe so.
yeah,
And it boils down for me that, of course, women, femininity can't survive in this world alone. When you see single women, they have to man up to deal with the world.
yeah,
Femininity needs masculinity to protect it, but femininity was separated from masculinity
mm,
in a lower class community more than anything. And when this occurred, it made women have to step into masculine roles, but doing it wrong. And when having to step into masculine role, the feminine role is tainted as well. So you are not feminine correctly, or you are not masculine correctly. So now you just in this purgatory. And so raising a man in that environment, you can't teach him masculinity or femininity, and everybody needs both. And so with that being the case, the woman has stepped into the role of being a man, because that very pattern has occurred like twice. Imagine this.
or do you for before whole make sure you don't forget what you're about to say. Like I want to say the woman stepping into the man's role. Wouldn't you think that's an indication of what a man regularly deals with versus what a woman has to go into? Because obviously she has to do these things, she has to go through these things, but ultimately when she does these things, she catches a glimpse on what it is to be a man every single day. So I would think it'd be more so a reflection of what a man has to deal with rather than
Nah,
what women are going
because
through. Because if a woman has that masculine to support its feminine, then she's not taking on that role no more.
But the thing is, women and men can never see where each other coming from. So while she's getting a glimpse of what it's like to have to work like a woman or try to think like a, I mean, work like a man or try to think like a man, she can't perceive it correct. Just like the feminine man can't perceive that he's living incorrect. So they presume masculinity according to what they think it is. But because they don't deal with the actual pressures of a man, the actual challenges of a man, the thoughts of what he has to grow into, the perception of what masculinity is and what femininity is different for each other. So then you end up in this place where a woman is teaching masculinity from what she perceives it to be, while also living in a woman's body that gets treated completely different than a man is treated. But that way a man is treated has created his psyche.
I'll go on to say this then. So going into what I was gonna say, I'll remove it from what I was originally saying. So the whole practice of Stoicism, right? When we just look at it, instead of encompassing it to everyone, I'll just more so speak on what I can speak on. So as far as men, I feel like Stoicism tends to be pushed very, very harshly onto a man because a lot of people don't practice Stoicism and they don't know what they're actually trying to instill onto a man. I think people see it as you have to be made of stone, you have to be a stone figure. You can't feel a way about anything. And if you do, you're not being a man. You're being something entirely else. Like you're being
Man,
soft.
how false is that? I'm listening.
And I think people who want to get into Stoicism, or people that are just in a place where they feel like they can't talk, or they feel like they can't be emotional in some kind of way, shape, or form. I think to a certain extent you have to allow yourself to feel some type of emotion, whether it's in silence or shit, even if you feel like you gotta reach out to somebody. I think it gets unfairly pushed on a lot of guys. And yeah.
This is this other thing I like on comment. It's the act of doing instead of being. It's wrapped up in our identity as well. Like you say, people try to be. I don't know the word to be, but Stoicism comes from, it's a character trait.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
not an action. It's not walk into the store. It's not I'm going to be stoic today. No,
Yeah.
you can't do that. It's a mindset of who you are as a person. So people try to embody the role through their actions, not becoming that as a person.
Yeah.
Okay, so
they try to make it their whole identity.
exactly, they reflect that as saying this is who they want to look the part but not walk the part.
Yeah.
And it's the same identity problem. We have to learn to stop trying to become and just be. We want to look the part. We want to act the part. We want to be seen as the part. We want to embody the whole part. But that in itself is giving too much attention to the identity of. We have to just make the decision internally and stop calculating.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I entirely agree. And I'll end it with my final thoughts. And if you have anything more to say, we can go back. But I'll end it to say this, that if you're going to be that kind of man, if you're going to be a stoic man, that doesn't mean allowing yourself to die inside of your mind. You're allowed to feel emotion. It's just what you allow your response to be towards that emotion is what ultimately makes you stoic or not. That doesn't mean don't cry. That doesn't mean this, that, and the other. It's just how you end up, the way you cry, or the way you go about it, or the way you allow it to affect you. So
I'm sorry, I would like to speak on that as well.
I'll let you go. Ultimately, as a man, definitely don't let the world destroy you, but you also have to watch out for yourself. You're not just at war with the world. You're also at war with the world and you. Everything is everything wants to see you fail, including yourself. So part of that stoicism, I think you just have to be mindful on how you respond to things. That doesn't mean just close yourself off to everything and anyone. But I want to hear what you were gonna say.
All right, and once again, I agree with what you just spoke on. I would like to make one little adjustment, and that is like the act of trying is a prejudgment who you are and who you are trying to become.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say, while it is good to have a goal, there are some things you would like to allow to play out. The act of trying to express yourself or trying to be stoic, like things like this, I would say humans have a tendency to suppress more than we have a tendency to exert. exert. And when I say that, what I mean is anytime you see somebody exerting, they probably suppressing some insecurity about themselves. They get loud because they feel too insecure quiet. You get what I'm saying? So we suppress things more than we exert, because even when we exerting, we are suppressing something else. And so the act of crying, like I say that they humans, we oftentimes believe we are numb. We oftentimes believe we can't love. We oftentimes believe that certain emotions or things aren't there for us. But it's all because we are 9 times out of 10 suppressing something within ourselves that want to be let out. You feel alone because when it's time to do this, you scared to let your opinion out, so you hold it in, and now you reinforce your aloneness. You get what I'm saying? So we suppress things and feelings and every other thing that's inside of us out of fear of judgment, of how we will be seen, or the identity again that we are trying to protect. And so you were saying it's important to not allow yourself to stay numb, and that is a extreme underrated statement, because half the times we not even trying to be numb by ourselves, but we just trying not to be seen. We don't want to expose ourselves to the world, so we suppress ourselves and become numb. So I would say find your comfortability within yourself. Find out why you decide not to do this, why you feel judgment in this area of your life, because boldness is not something you focus on. You focus on alignment, and boldness is an effect of alignment. Figure yourself out pretty much. It ain't to suppress your feelings, to push them out. Just figure you out. Question yourself.
Exactly. There was a guy inside of the comments of one of the videos that I had made. I'll bring his ass up right here on the screen. But when I was making the video, I was mainly talking about, because I had seen a quote from what was his name? I don't remember his name. I never remember anybody's name. His name was like Frederick Frankoff or some shit like that. They started with an F, I think it was. I can't remember who it was, but he was like he said it's better to be alone than to be surrounded by the many masks that people wear. And it had got me thinking when I was making the video, like who would a person be, and who would they want to know? Like what kind of person would they be if there was entirely just no judgment anywhere? Like if nothing you ever did was going to be judged, what kind of person would you be? And the guy, his name was I can't pull it up on my phone right now, but his name was, well, I mean, you'll see it right here on the green screen. But
Seen the picture of him.
read me his name real quick.
No, I don't have
I think I had screenshotted and sent it to you.
His name was Eli Estes.
Eli Estes. I don't know if we're pronouncing his name right, but I think he had brought up a good point that I didn't originally think of. Like maybe he was saying that he said that judgment could be good for us, that judgment could be the very thing that motivates us. He was going on to say that if there was no judgment, we would probably all just be bad people, because no judgment would be passed on to us, so we wouldn't be scared of being bad people. And so I thought that was a really good point. But another thing that I brought up when I was talking to him inside of there was I had said, well, that could be true, but what if is that judgment motivating you to be who you want to be, or is that judgment motivating you to be a better version of what people thought you couldn't, or to be something that people thought you couldn't? Because I think there's a real big difference between the two. He was saying it could go either way. Like, you know, I would have to see the other stuff that he ended up bringing up inside of there. I'm gonna put it all on the screen, but he I wanted to hear what you thought about it, because personally I feel like without judgment you get to see who a person really is. And he was saying without judgment everybody would be evil, but I don't think everybody would be evil. I think there truly are just some virtuous people in the world who just, without any judgment, they would strive to be not strive, but they would eventually just be a virtuous person. Like I don't think everyone is born evil.
You know what's interesting? Evilness usually comes from introspection. Like I'd imagine we was to like be just doing something in our own world, just like as kids we playing our imagination, not thinking nothing of it. We living in a moment. We don't think into the future. We don't think of the past too much. We like in a moment, especially when we having fun.
Yeah.
And that right there eliminates the thought of evil.
Yeah, it does.
Like, and And so when it comes to growing up and being traumatized or being told certain things or losing trust in the ones you love, you start to question things different. So like trauma is the catalyst for those introspective thoughts or certain realizations. If there was no judgment, it would have to be someone. I mean, if there was no judgment, there probably would be no introspection, really.
Yeah.
And so without introspection, we will all just be living in a moment, and evil couldn't exist because evil takes a motive. Then we would just be like animals killing, but without a actual evilness to us. It would just be in our nature, but it wouldn't be evil. It would just be. We would be animals.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like without judgment, we wouldn't reflect on who we are. We would always just be going to the next moment.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. I didn't think about that either. I
That's
think
a
that's
really interesting one.
yeah, that is. When I was saying it though, I had there was another thing that I had agreed with him that we probably what he was saying, like where if there was no judgment, people would just be evil. I think if that was the case, like right now, like today, like right now, if everyone just said, no, we're not gonna judge anything, we're not gonna judge anyone anymore, no more judgment, everyone can just do what they want, then I think people would turn out to be, because they already have that experience of introspectiveness, right? So they're still capable of that evil, but no one's gonna be judged anymore. So what I had ended up saying was I think there's a certain amount of judgment that people have to take, and then maybe there's a end point of how much judgment someone should receive, and once they reach that end point, then they're allowed to cast aside judgment and not worry about it anymore. Because I do think judgment is such like a heavy word. It's so hard to agree with it, but I do think to a certain extent there should be a time period in someone's life from the point they're born up until this is the point where I can't gauge, but up until a certain point, and once they reach it, then that's when they're allowed to cast aside that judgment. But I feel like you can only do that once you reach that point, and that point probably has to be a state of virtue, because at that point, if you're more virtuous than other people, then that judgment wouldn't really matter.
Virtue, like the idea of virtue comes from judgment.
That's why I was saying there's a certain amount of judgment that someone receives in their life, and then once they become a virtuous person, then they can cast aside judgment.
You know what I think? That's
What's
a
up?
very interesting concept. But it's like there's a point of age, I mean a point in life where you become responsible for your own actions.
Yeah.
Like in this point, we wasn't all raised in the same way to for that marker to be a set place for us. You get what I'm saying? Some of our parents didn't teach us how to carry ourselves. So while that marker is set in stone and like it's almost by law at this point, our development is not the same. But with the idea of being judged, it will all be dependent on that development as well. So like I don't know, like you said, it's a hard reference. You can't put a reference point
It's
on
hard
these
to
things, but
it's hard to gauge where that judgment should stop.
yeah, right.
I think what I was thinking is that in order for the judgment to stop, you have to reach a point of where judgment is no longer necessary. I feel like, but where is that in a person's timeline? Of course, it'll vary from
Wait.
person to person.
When we say judgment, what are we speaking of in time? Because it sounds a bit different from in how we.
So judgment, as in I want to say judgment in the literal sense, where what you do, how you do it, who you are, what you are, your person.
Perception.
Yeah, like just judgment in general, like judgment of someone's character, or judgment of someone's character based on who they know. Like judgment, being judged by others.
All right.
And
I will say,
no, you could go ahead. You go ahead. It wasn't important.
I do believe that judgment is a tricky thing because it don't exist. I mean, it exists, but it's all like in everybody's own little bubble. Like your judgment can't get outside of your bubble, and other people's judgment can't get inside of yours. It's like, but it seems to be like this is how I view it anyway. But I say this because it's like depending on every video, we probably gonna end up back at awareness because this is how I process most of my thinking. But within the realm of awareness, you got the things that you like and you don't for your own reason. And so when it comes to how we view other people, it only can come from our own reason. And half of those reasons we don't understand. So how we feel judged from people usually comes from how we judge ourselves. In a way, in the places we don't judge ourselves, we don't usually feel judgment from other people. So it's like, considering that being the case, once again, you could take an innocent child who's not that introspective, don't really care about judgment, just living in right now moment. You can judge him all he wants, but he will not perceive that.
Yeah.
And I think that is, I mean, this person, but I think that is that moment where you get, I think that is the evilness, the knowledge of good and evil. Like that moment, like how you said, they say everybody will be evil. I think the moment you can perceive judgment is that moment that you know good and evil. And before then, you just doing you. And before then, you just doing you. It's all awareness based though.
So the acknowledgement of judgment is what makes you aware of good and evil.
Well, I would say it's a slight trigger. Like they probably like a millisecond apart, but the knowledge of good and evil and judgment literally intertwines with each other. I don't know which one comes first, but they almost appear at the same exact time.
Yeah. All right. So at what point does a person stop taking in the at what point does another person stop taking in the judgment of others?
That only can happen in one way.
Also.
Well, a million ways, but it always ends up being the same thing. But if you, all right, wait, before I can't answer that directly because I got to tell a story.
Go ahead.
Say you got there's a father, right? And then there's a brother who stays in the house. Then there's one brother who is just a wild brother, right?
Yeah.
The wild brother, he going out and he know his heart ain't in the right place.
Yeah.
You feel me? He just out, well, he probably don't know at first, but he gonna realize it. But the brother in the house tends to think he's doing the right thing most of the time. And he dislikes that the brother who went out and he have fun, because it's like, it's almost disrespectful that I'm doing all this hard work to stay in the right position while you just doing whatever you want to do. So like people try to like start to, this is what judgment comes from, if you ask me. It's from somebody thinking they doing the right thing. And so, but the funny thing is about this, those people who get mad at the other ones is usually mad because of the very thing they bragging about. You don't brag because you a slave to something. You brag because it's in your heart. It's natural for you to do. So I would say the point where you no longer is under other people's judgment is when you no longer doing things because it's right, through identity. We going back to identity. You can't do it through identity. You have to do it through a heart posture. This really what I'm doing. You have to understand yourself in your heart. And it's so many people out here, quote unquote, doing good, but they doing it out of the name of doing good. So it's not good. It's just you building your ego around the idea of being good, if you get what I'm saying. So the judgment comes from that identity, whatever identity you assume.
Yeah. At that point, you're only doing good to feed the identity of you being good, not because you actually are good.
Exactly. So it's not in your heart, it's in your physical nature. And that's where the judgment come from. And so the big brother mad at the little brother, but they both in the same situation. The little brother just accepted it a little more.
Right.
It's funny because I've been in deep thought about this over the past few days. And so it's funny that this is what comes up.
What, judgment?
No, like what I just spoke of.
Oh, yeah.
I just came to that real, like I was doing my little deep studies, and this is what it was about. The whole idea of what is judgment and where it come from.
So we know what it is, and we know where it comes from. Do you think?
But I want to hear how you what do you think about when does it no longer affect a person, or when can somebody be released from judgment? Because while I just said how it looks, I kind of didn't answer the question the same way, in the right way, as a time frame. And
yeah, I would say, like, I think it's hard to say, because the part of me wants to say you should stop receiving judgment when you reach like when you become a virtuous person. But the thing is like it's hard to say when that person becomes that. Because it's hard to say when someone becomes a virtuous person, because you only reach that through that at that point it's not judgment, it's comparison. You compare yourself to other people, or you compare yourself to prior knowledge of evil and prior knowledge of good, and then you're trying to be, well, I'm gonna go back because we already talked about virtue, and we know what virtue.
I want to say something about that really fast.
Go ahead.
as you just said that, it made me question: can a virtuous person recognize that they are virtuous? Because
That's the point I was trying to get at, but I couldn't figure out how to say it. Like, how does a
okay,
virtuous
well,
person recognize themselves?
yeah, I don't think they could. I think the act of being virtuous takes away your own identity to be virtuous. I guess this is why in the Bible, Jesus asks, "Who do they say I am?" He never said who he was. He let
Yeah,
other people say who he was, because the very act of doing it out of being this is takes away from the place you doing it from.
right.
That's interesting.
So I guess I should say this. I guess I should change my stance on it then. I don't think there's a point where judgment needs to stop, but there is intervals in someone's life where they have to stop accepting certain judgment in order to do what it is they're trying to get done. So, like, for example, if judgment around you is stopping you from doing something that you want to do, that's when judgment should stop. Unless what you're doing is, I always end up bringing it back to evil. But is that not a wrong thing to say? Like, if the judgment is stopping you from doing something that you want that isn't evil and is beneficial to you, I think that's when judgment should stop. Like, if you wanted to, I don't know, if you wanted to become I guess if you wanted to become a philosopher, right? Like, judgment shouldn't stop you from wanting to seek the human condition and learn about it. That's when judgment should stop, because at that point the judgment it's not based in anything. It's not based in anything virtuous. It's not based in anything good. It's not based in anything constructive. It's just judgment for the sake of judgment, whether they don't like your character or they're trying to keep you at their character so that they don't rise above you, so that they don't become wiser than you, so that they don't become more virtuous. Or that's really the same thing. Wisdom is a virtue. But
If
yeah,
that's the case, I'm bad. If that's the case, then wouldn't that very judgment, like, I'm having trouble understanding. All right, so we got a person who looking to be a philosopher,
right.
and they have to overcome those barriers of judgment, or whatever, however they process that in their mind.
Yeah.
Those who judge that would have to be like that same place we spoke of, that I spoke of, big brother, little brother. What you met at this person who is like, I'm trying to figure out. Okay, I'm trying to figure out the realm of judgment, because I'm still like, I'm getting judgment, and we can say any kind of judgment, but you got some judgments where somebody just
I think judgment either comes from like two places. It either comes from actions that get done outside of what the judger's identity is, or probably from a place of jealousy or like envy. I think those are synonyms, aren't they?
pretty much.
Yeah,
Jealousy is more so, yeah, pretty much.
yeah, so I think judgment either comes. I got something in my eye. Okay, I got it out. But I think judgment either comes from actions or beliefs that come outside of the judge's identity, or it comes from jealousy or envy. I want to put that in because I feel like they are the same thing, but they're not.
Yeah, because I know envious people don't always have to jealous. They could just want to have jealous something just like toward
Yeah.
or because of.
So I think that's where judgment comes from. I feel pretty confident in saying that, unless there's one more aspect that I'm not. Yeah, unless there's another aspect that unless there's a third that I'm just not seeing right now.
What we got here?
Let's see if we can answer the question. So originally in the video was, who would you be if there was no judgment? Like, who would you want to know if nobody cared at all, right? So we came to somewhat of a conclusion where judgment is kind of needed, or judgment, you have to have that introspectiveness in order to like, what was it, to realize judgment?
Yeah, to realize judge, you have to be the judge of.
Yeah. So without that introspectiveness, you can't really judge another person, because I think we're always judging people based on us. We're always using us as the measuring stick. So without that introspectiveness, we can't really judge. So we established there has to be some sort of judgment, but there's a point in someone's life where they reach the point where they don't have to consider that judgment. but we ended up I think we ended up backtracking on that because I had ended up saying in order for that person, a person can stop considering the damn it, my screen went black. A person can stop. I had ended up saying a person can stop considering judgment from others when they become a virtuous person. But like you had said, for me, how does a virtuous person recognize they're a virtuous person without judging themselves? Or not even judging themselves. Like, how does a virtuous person just recognize themselves in general? So
Fact.
I think the conclusion is, who would you be without judgment? It's asking the
Caveman.
wrong question. It's asking the wrong question. We need judgment in order for us to find out the person that we want to be. And as far as answering the question in a whole, it'll be like this. Judgment is important for us to become virtuous people. Once okay, so
That's
judgment is important for us to
exactly
become
that.
virtuous people. There's never going to be a time where you can cast aside judgment, because a virtuous person, I don't think a virtuous person can recognize themselves, and it almost takes away from the very thing that makes them virtuous, not seeing themselves as better than others. So
Fact.
judgment will always be an aspect of someone's life, but when that judgment stops them from doing things that they want that aren't evil, then that's when judgment can be cast aside. You agree or disagree?
I do got a little push. All right, the judgment is important to know the measurement. All right, if we take it like one of those triangles where you got the different bars, I probably have seen you an image, so create an image so we could put it up. But like one of those triangles that it shows like from here to here, and it's like a whole spectrum, or just like a spectrum sheet in general,
Mm-hmm.
right? Virtue is at the top, and at the bottom is no discipline
Right.
or just wild, animalistic.
Right.
This spectrum is a spectrum of judgment. So like if we collapse judgment, this whole sheet collapse.
Mm-hmm.
And it would take us back to we probably could be some really smart cavemen.
Yeah.
But I would say that the way to get rid of a life without judgment is possible, and there still be a standard of good. If we judge everybody according to who we are as people, not their actions or what they do or anything physical, but just judging them according to what a human deserves. We all deserve a second chance. We all deserve love. We all deserve, like, if we measure a human according to what we deserve, that I believe that whole sheet like changes.
Mm.
I'm trying to find a way to put it into words. Imagine right now a virtuous person in your eyes is a person who don't lie, do what
Right.
they say, and just the common aspects of what a good person looks like. You get what I'm saying? And then
Yeah.
my judgment of a virtuous person is someone who simply treats humans like humans. It's like one of them, the identity can hire, like if you say you're a virtuous person because of, I can't even put it into words. I'm really trying to.
I think if I feel like we got it for the most part. Uh, I feel like I feel like at this point we could just leave it to somebody else to pick it up and like dissect it, because a virtuous person has some kind of concept of what a virtuous person could look like. So
Because that's what they modeled themselves after. Like,
yeah, and
but okay, this is what I'm saying. I'm sorry. The physical version versus the heart posture version. If you get what I'm saying, one, you can be a virtuous person through action,
mhm,
but then somebody else can be a virtuous person through their heart. You get what I'm saying? One looks the part,
mhm,
and maybe behind closed doors they not that at all. But one is the part in their heart, but struggle with the self discipline. And these two look different, and they are judged different. Like the one that look like a virtuous person gonna get judged as virtuous, but the person who be slipping and making mistakes, but even though they have the heart posture and they are working towards it with real virtue, they
mhm.
get judged different.
I
And
feel like I'll go ahead.
yeah, and so judgment is different. It's like it's a complicated one because it teeters not just on what's happening in real time in a heart and in a mind, but it's according to what it looks like to somebody.
Right. The physical and the heart that you were talking about, I feel like one doesn't really exist without the other. There someone can't act virtuously unless their heart is virtuous to command that action. I feel like, because we're talking about a virtuous person, and this is a person that is, I forgot what the list was, but this is a person that is possessing aspects like wisdom, possessing things like what was the justice one? This is a person who is wise, who is righteous. So they're already, their heart is, a virtuous person already has a virtuous heart, and a fully realized person, a person who has reached virtue, one, they can't really be a virtuous person without being virtuous in the heart and being virtuous in the physical, because the heart kind of births the physical.
But what if the heart is looking for power, so it acts
Then they're not a
virtuous in
virtuous
order?
person.
Yeah, it is to deceive those who are looking for a leader. You get what I'm saying? Our politics, for example.
Mm.
Then that's a whole different ball game. But judgment is always in the eye. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So it's like judgment. Now I think we losing the whole thing of judgment though.
Yeah, we're losing. We're going off on another thing. We could always go into that in the next vid, but um, so I mean, summarize it. I mean, we kind of already summarized it. We kind of just ended up going into a different topic off of like I think like a sentence. So summarize to me what you believe. Summarize to me
We should have. I need the question so I can come back. I should have
the
typed.
I had originally brought forward who would you be if nobody judged you, or no, what
There was no judgment.
I'm not gonna get it word for word, but basically who's the person who's the person that you would be if there was no judgment to be had? What kind of people would you know if nobody cared? So basically, if there was no judgment on your character at all, who would you be? And then we
Okay,
realized,
I remember what it was. All right, yeah.
yeah.
We realized we would be animalists,
Yeah, so
but
we need
if they
judgment to
was
a
taken
certain
away
degree.
right now, and then we asked if we took it away right now, what would it be? And 9 times out of 10, most people would become evil
Hmm.
because no one is judged. But there will be a select few who decide this is just what I. But even in that case, it couldn't be so to make that decision without a judge. So I don't know.
So judgment is always going to be important through in a person's entire lifespan. But when judgment stops you from doing the things that you want that are good, that's when judgment shouldn't be taken into consideration, especially if the judgment is from somebody that you would not want, or if especially if the judgment is from a person that you wouldn't like take advice from. If it's a person that you don't consider to be virtuous in the slightest degree, or not even the slightest
Wait,
degree, just when
but now I got a question. I'm sorry.
we gotta answer the question, bro.
But we can't answer the question unless we know what we're really answering. So I got a question that may flip this upside down.
Okay.
That's the whole problem because it's like we can answer it, but the reason it's so hard to answer because we really trying to make it make sense in our head.
So
we
to so
we
to
miss
say
it.
right now, judgment is always going to be important for someone's life. I think we can have that. We can have that as a standard in our argument. Judgment will always need to be present. Well, not always, but it will always need to be present in someone's life. It can't just
But
go away.
what kind of judgment? What like this is why I
Word
say what do we mean by
judgment
judgment?
judgment is a very general term. Like judgment, anything can be judged. Judgment in every form.
About that?
Like this cup could be judged. This bowl could
Yeah,
be
I don't
judged.
know if it's important though. Like I don't know how important it is.
Well,
And
it depends on how you're looking at it, because if I'm judging this bowl, then I could be the person that ends up creating the most perfect bowl because I judged this bowl to be poor. Like judgment is very important when building something,
okay,
when you're trying to build
good
something better,
judgment and good judgment more to say
or constructive
to add
judgment.
to it. Yeah.
So, or even, but the thing is, bad judgment can also be good too. Because that bad judgment, if someone's like, "You're a bad person, you're horrible," that is what eventually leads a person to be introspective. Like, am I really a bad person? Am I really horrible? It lets them take a look at themselves, and if they can decide that they're not, then it could ultimately lead into them,
But
you
they
know.
look at themselves according to their awareness, which be dangerous. So if you like people who grew up in tough
Well,
households,
at that point, that's just solely based on them being a good person or a bad person. But if we're talking about judgment, like if we're talking about solely about judgment, I mean, it's important for a person to always be introspective on themselves, even if their awareness isn't in the right place for them to see that they are in the right place or not. Because we're just
I don't
talking about
know.
judgment. If we end up compounding it with other things, we end up getting away from judgment.
Yeah, I know.
Judgment is like, this is a very it's a very general thing. Like it's not like it's not like virtue or anything like that. Like we can say what judgment is.
But what I'm saying is like, all right, if I could be the best trader in the world, right?
Yeah.
And I could be trying to teach you, but according to your awareness, you can't pick up nothing I'm saying until one day it probably click. Hopefully it click. It's
Mm-hmm.
the same with giving good advice or bad advice. People can only receive it or judgment. People only can receive it according to what they can recognize. So like bad people, like people who got a bad look on the world, even going introspective may cause more damage. This is
Right,
what
But
psychosis look like.
But but we have to separate the introspectiveness from the because
Judgment.
we're talking about receiving the judgment. Obviously, we can't have the judgment without introspectiveness. That's how it comes about. But we're talking about receiving it. When should we stop receiving it?
I think we should never have. Well, we should have judgment, but it shouldn't be coming from people. It should only come from within ourselves.
It depends. Well, if it only comes from
'Cause-
ourselves and we're not a virtuous person, then our judgment wouldn't be. Sometimes it won't be justifiable. It won't be the right kind of judgment if we have no reference to anything else.
But that's the same with that same person. If the judgment come from the outside with them not being a virtuous person, usually like we said, it's some people who gonna automatically choose good and bad. Fall in that same category. Like according to who you is, you gonna take that judgment and decide what you want to do with it. You get what I'm saying? But if you coming from an introspective place, at least there's no standards to tell you what good or bad is. So you're not trying to fit in with this or fit in with that or do something out of a place that's not good for you. Like some people gon' try to fit in because the judgment. Some people gonna try to isolate themselves because of the judgment. But those who is judged by themselves, people can still say the same thing. But if the judgment isn't received, you still are going according to your idea of right, which is easier to get right than choosing your idea of right based off of judgment from other people because you can misinterpret what they mean. And if I say, we need to go to the gym, you could think I'm saying you fat. Oh snaps! Now I think you don't like me no more and this and that. But that's interpretation. But if
Mm.
there is no acceptance of that judgment from somebody else, there's no room for interpretation to. But it will only be how you see yourself. If I think I'm fat, then that's what it is. But I don't assume that you like me less because I received your judgment. So that outside pressure on the body is what produced these people who just follow that's followers pretty much. Oftentimes it's judgment.
So if a person was fat and they only accepted judgment within themselves and they told themselves they're not fat, and somebody said, "Nah, bro, you're fat," but if the judgment only came from that fat person, they'd never see that they would never be able to look at themselves as fat.
But if you don't want to see yourself fat, you're not gonna see it anyways. If anything
But
else,
that
you
but
probably
that's
just
why
start
that's
crying.
that's why the judgment shouldn't just come from within, because you're
But
not
even
going to
if it
be able
comes
to
from
see that.
without, even if it comes from without, even because you see, nobody can look in the mirror and say they're not fat. They convince themselves they're not fat. Just like if your judgment come upon me, I'm gonna convince you that you just seeing stuff, but on the inside,
But
I'm
like,
still
but like you
developed.
were saying, because of that person's awareness, they're not gonna, like, of course they're gonna see it, but it's not gonna really click with them. They're not gonna really, they know, they can see, they can look in the mirror, like they see how they look, but they're just not aware enough to be like, you know what, maybe I am fat, maybe I do need to go choose to be a little healthier or something like that. But they can't come to that realization because they're not accepting outside judgment. They're only accepting it from within.
I mean, when we say accept, that's a different thing, but
Well,
the
in order, well,
judgment,
you have to accept judgment in order to pass it as judgment in some kind of way, because otherwise the person isn't going to hear. It was like you were saying, a kid, you can go and judge this kid all day, but if they're not trying to receive it, if they're not trying to accept it, then it's just going to go in one ear and out the other. They don't really care.
that's because they can't perceive it. You
Per,
get me? Like the kids won't accept it because they can't perceive the judgment. They just thinking, oh, you mad for some other reason. But the moment you be able to perceive judgment, it's like, okay, you start to assume, oh, okay, they probably looking at me because of this. They start, but accepting it is, I guess it is the same thing. But what I'm trying to say as a whole is when to accept the judgment, there has to be the recognition in your own mind already. You get what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
nobody can't say something with and you recognize it unless it was already inside of you. So that fat person who is judging themselves can't come to the same conclusion unless they recognize it themselves anyway. So whether it's being judged from somebody else or from yourself, you can't accept it unless you recognize it.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course. The finality of judgment has to ultimately be accepted by the person that's being judged, right? It has to be by that person. Like the person has to say to themselves and actually accept that very thing. But in order for that
Yeah.
person, but it also takes that outside judgment in order for them to get to that place. Otherwise, they would have never had to be introspective enough to ask themselves that question and finalize that judgment. So it does come from the individual on whether or not to accept it, but outside judgment is what brings it to the table for them to perceive.
I think so.
So I think both inside and outside are very necessary. But let's answer this question. So is judgment important? Yes. Is there ever a point where it has to go away? Yes. Does it have to ever go away completely? No. Is there anything I'm missing? If judgment is stopping you from doing something that you want to do that isn't evil, what's the answer to that?
I disagree on the first one though, so I can't even.
You don't think judgment you don't
Only
think
self
judgment should always be present?
not in a form that we've been speaking of. It should be the judgment should be according to who we are as people, not who you are, but what people are. Because
We don't live in a perfect world though. Judgment gets passed for any little thing. So we're just talking about judgment.
no, but when I say what people are, I mean humans who make mistakes, who do this, who like the psychological understanding of human. Like we don't get judged for our shortcomings, but everybody makes mistakes. Everybody have these things. Everybody is everything. Nobody's perfect. That's what it should be judged on. So pretty much no judgment, but just understanding that mistakes.
That should be where what it is, but people don't pass judgment like that. And
But we were
we're talking about general judgment that we live in right now in the real world. Like the judgment that we face every day that is actually present. Not so much how we should
but
be judged.
But that's all according to what you receive, is what I'm trying to say. It's like if you receive judgment, you get judged. But if you judge according to humans being humans, that's the judgment you will receive because you don't teeter your value based off outcome, but based off what a person is. So if that is your understanding of judgment, that's how you judge other people and how you receive judgment because that's what you perceive to be true. But if you perceive what people say about you to be true, that's the judgment you take. So I say judgment don't have to be this way all the time because certain people will always judge that way, but if you don't, then you can't perceive that judgment. That's just their way of thinking. Like, and we will argue, and I'll be like, you're wrong, and I'll be like, I'm right, because I don't agree with that way of judgment no more.
I agree with you, but you're speaking on one form of judgment. I'm talking. We're answering the
And
question of just judgment. We're talking about the judgment you're talking about, and we're also talking about
mm, yes,
the nasty kinds of judgment. Like
but the way I disagree that was when you said it will always have to be present and it's constructive for it to be present, and that's where I disagree at.
that it shouldn't always be present.
Is that it's constructive unless it's getting you to somewhere. I don't think it should be there at all. I don't think it should. I believe only the self version, not the version where regardless as long as it's not bad for you. You get what I'm saying? Because it's all bad for you because if your judgment is coming from somebody else, your value is leaned according to somebody else's beliefs.
I'm not sure. I think good judgment and bad judgment should always be they should always be good judgment and bad judgment should both be present. But I mean, at that point, that's a whole nother argument. But as far as it just existing and being present, judgment should be present. And whether it should be not present in some cases, we can agree we could agree there. But as far as it just being there entire, like as far as it just being in someone's life, like should it be present in someone's life? We're not really focusing on whether it's good or bad, but we're just talking about it being present. Regardless, we're both agreeing it should be present. Are we agreeing on that?
No. But we can just say yeah.
You don't agree that it should be present? You literally just said it should be present sometimes.
But as you're speaking, I'm doing more thinking, and then it goes back to identity, which creates the tension in the world. Identity will always cause division. And and so, like you said, maybe up until some point, but I don't think it should always be present. Judgment creates identity.
Bro,
Identity creates separation.
I literally just said that. What do you
Yeah, but you also said that.
I was speaking solely like I understand we both disagree on when it should be present and what form should be present. Like I know that. But I'm speaking towards the idea of it just being present, whether it's sometimes or it's all the time. The fact of the matter is it should be present in someone's life.
See, no, it shouldn't. Like, come on, bro. You can't
What
say
do you
we
say?
agree then say that right after, because I don't think that should be the case.
No, but
I believe
unless you sit here and say it should not be present at any point in someone's life, you're not disagreeing.
well, I don't think it should be present, but in a way that society has been built up, it had like if we strip it away right now, then the
We're
idea
just
of
talking about it
self-judgment.
being present, dog. We're
I
just
know,
talking
but
about it
listen.
being present.
But hear me out. What I'm saying is in this life, since life had already occurred and all this had already happened, only self-judgment should be there. But should judgment have ever existed? I don't think so. Because I believe if judgment didn't exist, then that would be no point of anything.
I get what you're saying. You're speaking on a world that should be present, but I'm more so talking about the world that is present right now. Like right now, if we had the option to decide is based on everything right now, like literally right now, who we are, wars that are places that are getting bombed right now, everything, like literally everything right now at 11:41 a.m. Should we get rid of judgment? I don't think we should.
Yes.
So you just entirely 100% get rid of judgment right now.
Yes. I mean, it would be impossible like flatline it right now, but if we could build that as the
Or a
the,
matter of
the
fact,
plan for right now,
let me
then yes, we
backtrack real
should
quick.
make that the plan.
Let me backtrack real quick because I gave the wrong. That's answering the wrong question. What it was should we because I worded the question wrong. Instead of should we just eliminate judgment right now, it's should we cast aside people's judgment just right now
Yeah,
as who
that's
we are.
100% yes. Yes, I believe that 100% yes.
Okay, I can somewhat agree with that right now. Yeah. Maybe like 90% of the way there. To answer, should judgment be eliminated right now? He's gonna say yes. I'm gonna agree with it to a certain extent. So we're basically both saying yeah. I'm just not fully there yet. Should judgment go away? Yes. No wait, are we answering the right question? It's not. Is should
don't
judgment
even
go away?
know what would be the world without. See, I don't even know.
Do we need to take into consideration other people's judgment right now? I'm gonna put the we're gonna answer this in the next 5 minutes because I don't feel like editing this 1 hour fucking one segment. So right now, I'm gonna oh fuck, I gotta go on my phone in order to look at it.
It's on the YouTube.
It's on our TikTok. Go to that video. It is on YouTube too, but it's in the shorts.
The conversation is what?
No, the video itself, because it comes from the idea of the very first words in the video. No, no, not that
This
one.
one?
Yeah,
Who will we be if there was no one to judge you? That's a beautiful question. And we didn't answer that throughout this video not once.
but well, I think what we were more so talking about was what the guy ends up going on to say. Like, judgment is important because it can motivate us to become better, and that's what brought us to the question: should we uh care about other people's judgment right now? And you decided on no, we shouldn't, right?
Yes.
Okay,
I,
I think I wanna agree with it too. Shouldn't right now.
I think it'll build the society in a way that, but I don't think it'll better us.
But anyways, that's another one in the books. Let us know what you guys think about it. Ellie Estes, I don't know if we're saying your name right. Let us know. We're never gonna like cut somebody off. Let us know if you see this video, what you have in response to what we were saying,
Please
what you
do
think and stuff like that. Is
save us.
there anything you want to say before we end it?
We gonna close it there, man. Too much to say. But if y'all
And
did enjoy no, I do got something. If y'all did enjoy the video, please leave a comment, please leave a like, and please let us know your position in the argument and how you, not the argument, the discussion, and tell us how you would have approached your way of thinking if you could in the comments.
yeah, Elon Musk, if you watching, we trying to get you in this bitch, man. Shia LaBeouf, I know you. I
Shia
know
LaBeouf.
you're the type of person to see some shit like this. Go ahead and hit it. Or shit, we'll hit you up, man. We'll get in touch. Don't worry. But Kanye,
Kanye, man.
honestly,
I
I
don't want
really
Kanye on this.
no. I definitely want Kanye to be in here. The first question I'm gonna answer, I'm gonna so Kanye. First question: the Jews. We're gonna
Goodness,
go.
we getting our
We're
shit
gonna.
closed down.
We're gonna go. We're gonna go off, man. We're gonna hear what Kanye has to say.